Hello everybody and welcome back to another video on the channel. Today we're running without a face cam because I currently look like death, so I just decided it's not worth it. We're going to get straight into these predictions because this is actually my third time recording this video. The first time turns out I didn't record it. I thought I did, but I didn't. And then the second time, I don't know how, but I accidentally deleted all the footage. So third time's a charm. We're just going to get straight into this. Finals week 1. So this is going to be my predictions for the entire final series. I was going to do a final series and then a separate week 1, but it's Wednesday. There's a final tomorrow night. I need to get this out tonight. So starting things off, Port Adelaide and Geelong on a Thursday night at the Adelaide Oval. To be honest, I really can't see Port Adelaide losing this one. I think this is probably the easiest matchup of the 4 week 1 finals to tip. Geelong, in my opinion, are making up the numbers a bit. They haven't been in very good form coming into finals. They did have a massive win over West Coast, but that is against West Coast, and I think they'd pretty much checked out for the season. They did have another reasonable win against Fremantle in Perth, but there were a few really shaky results in between all that. That loss to St Kilda, they lost to the Bulldogs, and just really didn't look like a top 4 quality team. And in my opinion, both GWS, Brisbane, and probably also the Bulldogs and Hawthorn are all better teams than Geelong coming into finals. Yeah, I think that ladder position doesn't really tell the full story of where Geelong are at. And at the Adelaide Oval, I think Port should get the job done. The two teams have played off in finals recently in 2020 and 2021 at the same venue. Port Adelaide won both of those. They're in red hot form. The most informed team in the competition coming into the final series. I think they should account for Geelong fairly easily, to be honest. And then we move on to Friday night, where we have got the Bulldogs taking on Hawthorn in what has potential to be game of the season. These, despite being both outside the top 4, these are probably the 2 best teams coming into finals. Oh, I just said Port Adelaide were the best team coming into... Okay, the second and third best teams coming into finals. The Dogs, they have been a bit inconsistent throughout the season, but they've turned it on as of late. Some of their wins have been crazy good, and apart from that really bizarre result against Adelaide where they lost by 40 points, their last part of the season has been really good. They've knocked off some genuine contenders, and they've done so pretty comfortably. They beat GWS by 38, they beat us, the Swans, by 39, and really that margin doesn't tell the full story in that game. They smashed us from the get-go. Should have been more like 70 points, to be honest. And Hawthorn, well, they've gone, ever since being 0-5 at the start of the season, they've had a remarkable run into finals. Very reminiscent of when the Swans made finals from 0-6. Can they win week 1 against the Dogs? I feel like the Dogs are probably going to have more composure. They have more finals experience. They've played finals recently, 2022, 2021, 2020, 2019. A lot of those players are still on the list, like Marcus Bontempelli, Aaron Norton, Tom Liberatore, Jack McRae, all those sorts of players. I think that the Dogs probably should get the job done. It'll be a thriller though. I can't wait for this match. I want to tip the Hawks, but I think the Dogs should win. And then Saturday afternoon, Sydney taking on GWS in the 4th all New South Wales final since the 2 teams' inceptions. Quite ridiculous that they played off this many times already, but here we are again. Giants are 3-0 and the Swans are 0-3 in these matchups in finals, and I'm not confident in getting a win here. I think actually the Giants, even though it's at the SCG, I think they're going to win this one. They have probably been the better team despite losing their last round coming into finals. We have won our last 3, but they're against 3 mediocre at best teams in Collingwood, Adelaide, and Essendon. Yeah, I'm not confident at all, to be honest. I think that the Giants, because of their record over us, and I think they match up well on us, even though we have beaten them twice throughout the season. I think our key backs are not as good as their key forwards, and our key forwards are not as good as their key backs, so our midfield's really going to have to dominate this game if we're any shot. So I'm going to tip the Giants. I'm hoping that doesn't happen. We do have the double chance. Fortunately, I want to see us win, because I think if we do win this, we're probably... I'd rate us a pretty good chance of getting through to the grand final from there. However, if we lose, well, I'm not so confident. But anyway, final game of the first week of finals, Brisbane versus Carlton. Carlton do have Sam Docherty back, although I believe that Charlie Curnow isn't going to be back. Harry Mackay I'm not so sure on, but they still have a whole host of injuries. Their final few rounds of the season were not great, apart from that win over the West Coast, who had pretty much checked out. So at the Gabba, I think this is a pretty simple tip. Brisbane should win fairly comfortably. And then we move on to the semi-finals. So all elimination finals from here. First up, we got Sydney taking on Brisbane at the SCG. Now, I'm not confident in us winning this one either, assuming this is the matchup which takes place. However, I look back at every single top-of-the-ladder team since 2000. That's when the current top 8 system got put into place. And the team top of the ladder has never gone out in straight sets. So for that reason, and the fact that it's at the SCG, and Brisbane haven't really been able to kick straight at all lately, I'm going to tip the Swans in this one. So I hope we don't have to play in a semi-final. I hope we go straight through to the prelims. But I think that we should be able to win this if this matchup does occur. And Carlton, I think if we were to play Carlton instead of Brisbane, I think we'd probably win that one too. And then anyway, the other final, Geelong versus Bulldogs. I think that also, interesting thing about this one, this final would be played at the MCG. I can almost guarantee that. That is despite the fact that neither of these teams would have the MCG as a home ground. Geelong obviously have GMHBA Stadium as a home ground, do occasionally play at the MCG at home for a home game against Collingwood and Hawthorn and Richmond and Carlton and all that, but it's not really their home ground, while the Bulldogs never play there as a home ground. So that would be a bit of a weird matchup. I'm not really sure who would have a bigger advantage. Probably Geelong. Anyway, that aside, I think that the Dogs would probably win that one. I'm not really confident on Geelong going into this final series. I think they'll go out in straight sets. Now, onto the prelims. We've got a rematch of the 2016 prelim at the same venue. GWS versus the Bulldogs. That will be a cracking matchup. I think GWS will get their revenge in this one. I think that they are the better team, even though they lost to the Dogs in the final round. They had a few injuries going into that game. I think GWS should win that one. Should be a cracker though. And we've got first v second in a prelim final at the Adelaide Oval. Port Adelaide taking on Sydney. On one hand, I kind of want this to happen because it means I would be able to get to see this final. However, I also do not want this to happen because I would not be confident in us winning. And I would have to tip Port Adelaide in that one. So I hope that doesn't... I kind of hope it does, but I also don't want it to happen. That brings us to the grand final. GWS versus Port Adelaide. That is going to be a cracking matchup. GWS do have some amount of grand final experience, having played there in 2019. A lot of players from that game are still on the list. They did get belted, but at least it was an experience for them. And it should help them a little bit this time round, should they make the grand final against Port Adelaide, who haven't made a grand final in 17 years. and also got belted in their last grand final appearance, although that'll probably mean nothing since it's a completely different team. But if this grand final matchup was to happen, I would have to tip the Giants, which means my predicted 2024 premiers are the GWS Giants. I would rather it be the other Sydney team, but that's something. Anyway, that's gonna not quite bring us to the end of the video actually, because I want to just quickly put in my prediction for maybe the Norm Smith medalist and also the Gary Ayres Best Player of the Final Series medalist. Norm Smith, who would really turn it on grand final day? I feel like Tom Green is probably the safe bet. Consistent inside, contested ball winning midfielder of the Giants. And I'll go with Lachie Whitfield for the Gary Ayres medalist. I feel like he's probably one of the most consistent players in the competition. Averages, I believe, the most, or maybe the second most disposals in the competition. And he's a pretty good ball user. So yeah, I'm going to go with Lachie Whitfield for the best player of the 2024 final series. That is going to bring us to the end of this video. I hope you enjoy. Comment down what your predictions for the upcoming final series are in the comment section below. Leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.